Hi, this is Dr. Xu, teaching design of experiments for engineering research. From this video, we will talk about the topic on experiments with a single factor. Sometimes we want to compare means of 3 or more groups. For example, here I have added different percentage of chemicals to a material and tested how they impact the material strength. For each group of the test, I have repeated 5 runs, which are shown with the solid black dots, and the red square dots are the average strength for each group. The question here is, I want to know if the variability in the sample means, so the red square dots, is due to random experimental errors or chances, or due to the addition of different amount of chemicals. We might initially think to do pairwise comparisons, so compare 2 groups at one time using the t-test. We can do these two, and these and these, these and these, these and these, these and these, and these and these. So until we finish comparing all possible 2 groups combinations. However, if we have many groups, it will take a lot of work. Also, if we have many groups and do many comparisons, it is likely that we will eventually find a difference just by chance, even if there is no difference in the populations. So this doesn't work. Another attempt may be, how about we examine the data first, and it looks like this group and this group are different. Let's just compare these 2 groups and see if the addition of the chemical impacts the strength. The primary issue here is that we are inspecting the data before picking the groups that will be compared. It is inappropriate to examine all data by eye and only afterwards decide which parts to formally test. This is called data snooping or data fishing. Naturally, we would pick the groups with the large differences for the formal test, leading to an inflation of error. So this doesn't work. In this video, we will learn a new method called analysis of variance, the Anova. It uses F-hypothesis test to check whether the means across many groups are equal. The hypothesis can be formed as this. So the null hypothesis is all means for the groups are equal. And the alternative hypothesis is at least one mean is different. We will use a significance level of 0.05. The basic idea is that we compare the variation between the group and that within the group. If the variation between the group is significantly larger than the variation within the group, we can say that the variation is mainly caused by the impact of each group being treated differently, instead of caused by the same experimental errors or chances. Before we do a formal Anova hypothesis testing using the F-distribution statistics, let's visually inspect the data and understand the concept of Anova. Let's look at this dataset. We have different chemical treated material with added chemical of 10%, 20%, and 30%. Each of the chemical concentration, we have done 5 strength tests. Note that I have sorted the data within each group from small number to large numbers. It is only for easy visual inspection, and they are not in the order of the test sequence because the test would have been done in a completely randomized designed experiment. We would like to know, does chemical concentration has impact on material strength? By examining the data, we can see that there is a lot of variation within each group, so the spread is so large. And for the 30% samples. But all the groups looks pretty much alike. There is not much variation between the group means. So we know that the variation between the group is less than that within the group. So we would accept the null hypothesis that all the means are the same. In this case, we would say that most differences are due to the same experimental error, and the added chemical did not make much of a difference to the strength of the material. Now look at a different set of numbers. In this case, the strength within each group are very close to each other. So they are clustered very closely to the mean. there are not a lot of variances within each group, but the groups are very different from one another. There is a lot of difference between the groups. In this case, you would reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the addition of different levels of chemical has a significant impact to the material strength. Now we have done visual inspection to understand the concept of ANOVA. However, it is not always easy to compare differences between variations visually, so we need a statistical method to quantify the variations between the groups and the variations within the group. In the ANOVA analysis, we use the mean square between groups, so the MSG, to quantify the variation between groups of the number of groups minus 1. So in the example here, we have 3 groups, so the degree of freedom here is 2. We use the mean square error, MSE, to quantify the variation within groups. The degree of freedom of this is the total number of the observations minus the number of groups. In this example, we have 15 observations. We have 15 observations and we have 3 groups, so the degree of freedom here is 12. And then we take the ratio of MSG and MSE. It is an F distribution, so we can perform an F test. Basically, the larger the F is, the more likely it is that the groups have different means, and we are more likely to reject the null hypothesis. We will talk about the details of the ANOVA calculation in the next video. This is Dr. Xu. Thank you very much for watching. If you feel the video is helpful, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and leave a comment below. I will see you in the next video.